And now we'll do something that's sometimes called the knee down twist. Drawing the knee up, foot on the floor, hand on the knee, and gently, and the knee, the right foot on the left kneecap, gently letting the body release and the knee release down towards the ground. And just repeat this a few times and see if it will release a little further as the hip becomes more lubricated. Work it a little bit, and then eventually, if it works for you today, move down towards actually all the way to the floor and leaving the arm hanging back behind you. If it moves up like this, that's fine. Just invite it to release as best it can. If it goes down to the floor, fine. And here, do another contraction, hip against palm. A good contraction and release. Contraction, release. And then rolling gently open to the other side, opening the hip now, and hand on this hip, and another contraction, push, pull, pushing, not a push-pull, but push-push, knee against hand, and releasing. And then stretching the leg out and working on the left knee. Now again, this is not something that I can do, so I invite you, if it works for you, to do the knee down twist in this direction. I'm not supposed to go past center, so I'll just limit it to this. You do the knee down contraction, knee down touching the ground and contraction. Then moving back and opening the hip, and contraction here, and contraction and release. And then stretching the legs out. And again, take a moment to work out the spine, release into the floor, breathing and relaxing. And now moving down to the feet, working on these feet and ankles again. And this time we'll start with a little contracting and splaying of the feet. Just as you can contract the hand and splay them open, contract and splay, you can do that with your feet. So stretching the feet open and then contracting them. Stretching open and contracting. Again, these feet take so much abuse, we pay so little attention to working them out, working the muscles, relaxing and releasing them. Good. And then circling on the joint, circling on the ankle, working out any tension or holding. And then stretching the left leg out of the ball, out of the socket. And then stretching the right one out of the hip socket. Stretching, stretching. And again, that spinal tilt, working out any issues in the lower back. Good work. And now we will do a leg lift. And for this, first let's warm up the legs a little bit, moving them in this direction, feeling they pushing into the lower back, contracting the abdomen a little bit, pushing into the lower back as we do this. Okay, now draw up the left one and raise the right leg off the ground slightly, and again twist on the ankle, turning the feet, and then release it. And revert, and rather alternate, knee up, right knee up, and left leg lift and stretch and turn and massage on the ankle, breathing and relaxing. All the time, keeping the pressure, the abdomen is contracted a bit, putting the pressure on the lower back. And repeat this again. And I like to do this about 20 times on each foot. You can do it as much as is appropriate for you. And if the lower back is sore and tense, then do these movements very slightly, just a little bit of a lift. And if it's too much to do the twisting, settle for that. Begin with small steps. That's a critical part of this, is take small steps so that you don't injure, but you are working towards increased flexibility, increased strength, increased range of motion. Okay, and then releasing and relaxing in this position, back. Now extending the feet again, and one more stretching. This is an unusual one, an internal one, which is as if you had a quarter, a nickel, dime, whatever you wish, in your buttocks, between your buttocks. And so you tense and contract and release, contract, release, contract, release. And this I like to repeat for 20 or 25 times just to strengthen those muscles. And you're working in the spinal cord, in the abdomen, and in the hips, and in the lower back. Good. And then releasing again. And now moving towards some work with the hands and the whole upper spine. So come into the position with the knees up, feet on the floor, and work out the spine a little bit. And now raise the hands. And this is a bit of an unusual stretch, but it's one that for my arthritis I found to be extremely valuable. And that is to splay the fingers and release them, splay them and release. And what I find as I do this, I find my body wants me to move other parts as well. So as I splay and release, I find that my body wants to work out the tension all the way through the arms, the shoulders, and into the back to get a really good stretch. And this again is something that I feel really helps me with my arthritis, keeping these hands and fingers and wrists usable. And then releasing and flapping a little bit, relaxing any tension, breathing and releasing. I noticed my chin was up. I got to keep stretching it out, flattening it out. And now we're going to move towards a position that's referred to in yoga as the bridge. And we'll do this very gently, because if you have lower back problems, you don't want to overdo this. So again, start with some pelvic tilting, just to work it out. And then gently lift and arch the back, lift the pelvis. And do so as much as works for you. Just repeat it a few times, breathing and releasing. And when you get to the top, pause and hold for a little bit. And then if the muscles of the back are up for it today, you could move closer to the full bridge posture, pulling the knees a little, the feet a little closer to your buttocks, lacing the fingers, interlacing the fingers, and walking with the shoulders, walking the head down closer to your heels. And so now the back is arched a little bit. Now you can really arch the back and push upwards, breathing and releasing. And then if it'll extend a little further, extend a little further, breathing and releasing. And extending a little further. And I like to release in the head and neck as well. Breathing and relaxing. And now, as I come out of this position, move the arms out akimbo and gently lay the spinal column one vertebra at a time down onto the ground. So you're really stretching and releasing in the spinal column. Good work. And rocking it again. There we go. Good work. And now bringing the arms up to the side like this. We'll roll over onto the side and rolling over again like we did it before, just recently a little bit. But this time you palms together and do a contraction. Feel the contraction in the body. And then rolling the spine again this way, over to the other side, palms together, and another contraction, contraction. And then I won't explain the value of these contractions, we'll just do them, but it's a worthwhile thing to do. And then the left hand under the head, and keep the spinal column elongated. And I put my hand on my right knee. What we're going to do now is do some scissor openings, strengthening in the spinal, in the hip joint. And the hand is here to remind me so that I don't roll over, so I keep it stable here. So that I'm using these muscles just to open the hip joint. And again, hips are a problem for me, so I tend to do a lot of work on the hips. And I like to repeat this about 20 times, breathing and releasing. And then a leg lift, so legs straight out, but instead of lifting straight out, it's a physical therapist instructed me that it's more useful to lift slightly diagonally. You get more of a stretch and working in the muscles. So lifting diagonally. And it isn't how far you go, it's the fact that you do the motion. And if the range of motion increases, then you can do it a little further. And I like to repeat this about 20 times. And you'll find the right amount for you and your body. And then rolling over to the other side and repeating the same process on this side. Hand under the head, the other hand on the hip, and opening. And this is more of a challenge for me. This is the hip replacement, so it's actually more important. And again, it's important not to avoid the places that don't work as well. Those are the places that actually need our attention. So don't ignore them. Just be careful, sensitive with them. And again, I repeat this about 20 times. And then the leg lift, instead of straight up, slightly diagonally. And again, repeating that about 20 times, breathing and relaxing. And then coming back onto the back, stretching out, releasing, relaxing into the floor, shimmering and shaking a little bit, working out any tension in the body, getting back to a relaxed, released, elongated spine position. And now we'll do a little bit of torso lifts, kind of a modified crunch. Just lifting up the body as is comfortable for you today, tightening the abdomen, pressing into the lower back. And as this becomes stronger, you can increase the range of motion, lifting and opening. And I like to do this about 30 times, feels like good stretching for me. And then releasing and rolling the shoulders. And now coming to the completion of this particular segment, moving to a seated position. And for this, find what is comfortable for you. If you need to roll and get yourself up, or if even using a chair, or if your back is strong enough and you feel supple enough on this day, I like to stretch my hands, interlace the fingers, work out the joints and the shoulders, and then gently lift forward to a seated position. But for me, because of my lower back, it's best for me to bring the knees up and work this way. As a physical therapist told me, my lower spine has naturally fused without any surgery. So the bad news of that is I'm quite inflexible. The good news is no surgery and also no pain. But it's an area where I need to keep working. So I'm not bouncing, but I'm trying to stretch towards my feet and then extending and tightening the hamstring, lengthening the hamstring, stretching. As you can see, I have very little flexibility. You may well have more. But it's an area that I need to keep working on so that I don't stiffen and tighten and become less flexible. At least I maintain my flexibility. Breathing and releasing. And that's the segment on the floor, on the lower spine, the spine and lower torso. And as I say, this is something that you can do on your bed as well as on the floor. And our next segment will be again on the floor, but this time in the table position. So keep moving, come back, and let's keep exercising. Not exercising, moving.